telling you a 30 seconds experience that I had in one of the morning flights of a Sunday, Chennai to Mumbai. And the guy sitting next to me with his sneakers and obvious millennial looking was not using his smartphone, neither the iPad. And everybody else on the flight was doing that. I was thinking, what sort of millennial is he? And then couldn't resist and saw him reading an article on health insurance in Economic Times. And I asked him, boring, isn't it? He said, no. I said, oh yeah. For the first time, I'm actually listening someone saying that insurance is not boring at that age. And I said, how do you find interest in that? And he went on to explain me the needs of insurance. He told me that he manages 7 companies, India and abroad. He himself is insured for 5 crores. So he is his spouse. And he says India insurance is not really that evolved in the process and product. That was his impression. And he said, he gave me actually a lot of information about the products globally available for millennials. So that's the backdrop. And with that, I would actually start with our extreme far, Abhijit. I would like to know from you, what do you feel about the emerging buying trend of the millennials? Insurance or no insurance? What are your thoughts on that?
So very quickly, obviously, 1/3 of India is now millennial, and they will get into the prime investment or consumption age of 35 to 45 in next 10 years, and probably form bulk of the consumption that you will see, or decision making for consumption that you will see in next decade or a little more than that. Very quickly, if you were to talk about investments and insurance or whatever, they do face a little bit of a dilemma. You have seen that health insurance costs or health costs are going up. Education costs are going up much more rapidly than normal inflation. People are living much longer than they used to live in past, and you no longer have 3-4 children and you staying with children in your retirement to take care. So the demand for money in terms of what you need to provide for is increasing. At the same time, the uncertainty of job is much higher than the earlier generation. You have seen a lot of people, because industries have changed or the way things have happened, the fact that you are employed is not assured that 10 years down the line, even if you are 45, 50, you will remain employed. So how you solve that dilemma is not a very easy question. So you need more money, but you are not very sure of what is your cash flow stream going to be. And that's not an easy question to solve, and that insurers, other service provider, financial services provider will have to solve this problem for them. And then saying that everybody will behave the same way is also not true. There will be many micro segments, and the more work we do on those micro segments, better we will understand their needs and hopefully do a good job for them. I think that's a summary of what I would like to say.
I think the challenge for insurance companies is, how are we going to get them to look at insurance? Why should they look at insurance? Right. Many of them don't want relationships. They don't have dependencies. Their parents are not dependent on them. Right. So why insurance? I think that is a problem that we need to solve for them. And yes, we should look at the segment.
I think thanks for your inputs. With that, let me go to Tarun. In terms of, again, the emerging buying behavior, everybody calls them impulsive buyer. And some people say they do too much of research. Not a loyal customer. That's the comment I heard from one of the marketing guy yesterday from FMCG. I was finding out in FMCG how the millennials behave. What are your thoughts, Tarun, on that?
So I do not necessarily subscribe to the fact that you can put them in a pigeonhole and say this is what they are. I think they themselves would detest that thought. But having said that, there is a lot of work to be done. And I think their buying behavior, and Vishakha just ended with that point, is a lot more research oriented. So we of course all have this various abbreviations. ROPO is one thing they do. Of course there's research online, purchase online or purchase offline. Correct. So but they will research. I think that's a given. That's really a clear buying behavior. What we have to figure out, how the content that we put out there appeals to them. We belong in their area of, belonging is a very important part of marketing. Do we really belong in their area? And that is where the entire issue around insurance is. And if we have to belong, then how do we represent our features, our product features? Do they really appeal to them? Sure. So one thing that we've done, and I think I'm a big believer of, is that the content has to be happy. Okay. It cannot be, usually we, zindagi ke baad bhi, zindagi ke baad, whatever. So, they're not thinking of baths. And they're surely not happy seeing people with broken legs and hands and stuff like that. I mean, they want to be happy, right? So that's what, you look at any survey which looks at India's motivation today and compare it with any country usually. Because we are so young, it always is in the higher quartile. So with that, the content, how you present it, the features, are they really appealing? I think that's where the entire art is. And one way to do this is just focus on their life goals. And that's an easy, positive way of helping them and hand-holding them in seeing value in the product. If they don't see value, they will not, of course. Experience is very critical. Convenience is very critical. If you had one bad experience, be sure you're gone. Be sure that social media is right out there. So we have to think a lot and be very careful. So if you're not ready, do not go there.
We have about 55 crore Indians in this population belt. And by 2025, which is just 6 years away, this is going to become 85. 85 crores of us, which is today 45% of the workforce, going to become 2/3 of the workforce in just 6 years. And they're spending average per capita FMCG spends going to triple. So they are the ones who are going to earn, and they are the ones who are going to spend. What we observe is that Google seems to know more about us than probably our spouses or even ourselves, knowing ourselves, right? So we asked Google. It was only a few days back, 2 weeks ago. We invited the Google India team to come and share with us, tell us more about these millennials, especially in BFSI, and how do they view life insurance. And they put up a very nice presentation as recent as including the last 7 months behavior. Okay. And this is millennials in India. So 3 things that they came out with is one, they are curious. The search for life insurance category is at an all-time record high. 10 crore searches in India per year. Number one. Number 2 is they are very demanding. And what do they mean by demanding? They know what they want and they want customized product solutions. So the number one search term there is term insurance, 60%. And that's been increasing by 2-3% every year, constantly. They are looking at product calculators and premium calculators on their own. So they do not want to trust anybody else, they want to check for themselves. And there's a 2.5x increase in the usage of premium calculators. I'm glad that IRDA now is mandating that every insurer has premium calculators on their website as well, because I think IRDA is thinking like the millennial. Yeah. And then in terms of impatience, 63% of them search through their mobile phones. And the patience level is also, Google has defined it, 3 seconds. Because if your page doesn't load up in 3 seconds, 53% of the millennials will move on. They will leave your site and go. So that is the zone in which you operate. So curious, demanding, and impatient. Right. However, what Google tells us is that the future of life insurance is very bright. Why do they say so? Because 91% of millennials surveyed, they conducted research as well, surveyed say that they would prefer to take their own financial decisions, number one, and 70% of them see insurance as their preferred investment and protection tool, 70%. In fact, there was a global study done also, about 5,000 respondents, and even there, the figure was close to that, about 72%, preferred life insurance as a long-term protection and investment vehicle. And this is the millennials we're talking about. What we also observe is that, contrary to belief that they are finicky, fickle-minded, not loyal, actually in this category, they seem to be more loyal than Gen X, the ones who are 40 and above. Right. When we did a double click on it, we found that the net promoter score of our millennials in our own Max Life portfolio is about double, twice that of the Gen X. So we were curious. It was contrarian to what one would expect it to be. So we looked deeper and we found out that is the product category that they purchased. They have double the penetration of protection, pure term protection, compared to Gen X. So 15% was our number in Gen X, and this number is 30%. In fact, Gen Y1, which is those in the 20s, from 25 to 29, are operating at 33% number of policies share. Purchasing is protection. So they know what they want, they are impatient, and when they buy it, they're very happy and very loyal and willing to recommend your product as well as stay longer. So that's what we find.
That's a good news.
So it's good news, and it's also great news from an agent perspective because, like Tarun was sharing, the preferred brand search queries has actually gone up. So it's not that if you want to go on a vacation, you'd probably search best hotels or best resort. You will not be searching bookings.com best resort, would you? But in insurance, they search max life term insurance. They don't search best term insurance. 77% is with the brand name and the category name. Only 6% is pure best term insurance or best ULIP and so on. So it shows that actually they've been nudged by a bank seller or an agent advisor, and then they're doing this research online and purchase offline as well.
So the millennial is a behavioral pattern basically, and any person who is in a digital environment using the modes of the modern technology for buying a product is a millennial.
Great. I think you provided a great new dimension. In the interest of the time, I would like to take input from all of you regarding the products. And do you believe that millennial are looking at something which is new as a feature, or do you think existing features are enough? It's just the contextual channel and the possibly the technology which
just
will
one
work.
thing I would like to mention. So if you look at a core basic statistics, it is said that 173 minutes is spent every day by a person who is having a smartphone in the phone.
Nice.
And 267 million are on YouTube. And it is cutting across both rural and urban India. It is not that the millennials are focused in the urban areas alone, in tier 2 cities, tier 1 cities. A lot of life insurance interest is being generated by the young people out there in the rural areas also. The only issue is that whether the stability of income and the consistency of employment will be there to provide long-term planning. So then it becomes an extraordinary challenge to develop products that will suit the employability pattern of the generation that is coming.